everybody, welcome to today's episode of Nutrition, a place where nutrition is all about you. So today we're going to be talking all about proteins. What is a protein? Why do our bodies need them? What do we do with them? What foods can we find them in? All that good stuff. So to start off, proteins are a big part of our bodies. They're all over us. I know many people probably have the assumption that proteins are just in our muscles and you just eat them to get really big muscles, because that's kind of like the general association with proteins. But actually, proteins are all over the place with us. Proteins are in our hair and in our fingernails. That's a protein called keratin. There's all different types of proteins. They're also in our blood. Those proteins are called hemoglobins and lipoproteins. There's also proteins in our muscles. There's myosin, actin, myoglobin, and a few other types. But why exactly do we need these proteins? Like, what are they doing for us? Well, one big main function of proteins is that they help us build new cells. If you don't know, our bodies are constantly regenerating cells because cells are constantly dying. And so proteins help us build these new cells as well as maintain tissues and perform functions. Without proteins in our body, we wouldn't really have muscles, we wouldn't really be able to move and do things like this with our hands. Proteins also make enzymes. An enzyme is something that helps you digest your food, so that's really a key part of life, digesting food. So it's good that proteins will help us do that. Also, enzymes contribute to making new cells, like I mentioned earlier. Another good thing that proteins do for us is that they help in the production of neurotransmitters. A neurotransmitter, you can kind of break that word up, neurotransmit. Neurotransmitters send messages to our nerves to tell us to do things. Again, these great hand functions that I'm doing are aided by neurotransmitters. So, basically, protein is really important, and we would have not so great lives without protein. So, our body uses so much protein and needs so much protein that every day we have to replenish our protein supply, and that's where protein-rich foods come in. So you can find protein in all kinds of different food, but there's actually two main sources of protein that we find in our foods. Well, no. There's two main sources of proteins in foods. There's high-quality proteins, which are things like animal products. Because animals have bodies that are so similar to ours, they also have tons of protein in our cells that by consuming animals, we're actually getting a great amount of protein, and also just their byproducts as well. So things like meat, fish, poultry, eggs, dairy are all protein rich and help us keep our protein levels high. There's also the low quality, which just means that there's limited proteins in these foods, and that's things like grains, which is, bread, cereal, cookies, that type of thing, fruit, vegetables, beans, and nuts. They're more low protein, but they're still, they still have some protein in them. So that's really good to know. And if you are vegetarian and you don't want to eat all these animal products, a really good substitute is soybeans. It's actually kind of different because it's a bean, but it's a high quality protein. So yeah, that was just a brief little spiel about protein. I hope you guys found it informative. Feel free to ask questions below, comment, and I will link some recipes that have tons of protein in them for this video. Like and subscribe.